Rumors said that he was cursed. The Mafia kingpin Seo Ji-hwan had not felt any emotion for 15 years. Blood dripped from his knuckles onto marble floors. Seo Ji-hwan, the sole kingpin, stood over the body of a man who had begged for mercy. He felt nothing. No guilt. No satisfaction. Nothing. He had not felt anything in 15 years. But as he looked up and saw Amina performing on the stage, fire spinning around her dark skin, flames dancing to drums he did not recognize, something inside his frozen chest cracked. Their eyes met across the smoke and darkness. For exactly 4 seconds, the world stopped. She faltered mid-spin, feeling the weight of his stare. He forgot to breathe, feeling something he thought was dead forever. The Ice King of Seoul had just found the one thing that could destroy him. A reason to feel. And Amina had no idea she had just become a target. This is the story of the Seoul Kingpin and the Nairobi Fire Dancer. When ice meets fire, something transforms. Let us begin with the night everything changed. Hello and welcome to Afro-Korean Romance Stories. Kindly subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more interesting stories like this one. Like this video and drop a comment to let us know what you think. 72 hours earlier, the underground club pulsed with dangerous energy. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting fractured light across the faces of Seoul's most powerful criminals. They gathered here once a month, the elite of the Biko clan, to conduct business in the shadows where the law could not reach them. Seo Ji-hwan sat in the VIP section, his posture perfect, his face carved from stone. The drums began. Not Korean drums. Something primal, ancient, calling to a part of Ji-hwan he thought had died 15 years ago. The underground club fell silent. Crystal chandeliers dimmed. Seoul's most dangerous criminals stopped mid-conversation and turned toward the stage. And then she appeared. Amina Kgetsi stepped into the spotlight with fire in her hands and defiance in her eyes. Orange and red fabric swirled around her dark skin. The flames at the ends of her poi burned bright enough to hurt. Ji-hwan leaned forward in the VIP section for the first time in a decade. The woman who had been draped across his shoulder moments ago was forgotten. The blood still fresh on his knuckles from the man he had killed an hour ago no longer mattered. Nothing mattered except her. She began to dance. The first spin sent fire in a perfect circle around her body. Ji-hwan's breath caught. He had never seen anyone move like that. Fearless. Alive. A memory surfaced. Unwanted. 17 years old, watching his mother dance at a family wedding, before his father beat the joy out of their household. Before the lessons began. Before he learned that feeling was weakness. Amina spun faster. The flames traced patterns in the darkness that looked like ancient writing. Like prayers. Like everything Ji-hwan had lost when he became kingpin. His second-in-command, Min Jae, leaned close. "Sir, your brother arranged this performance specifically for you," he said. "Be quiet." Ji-hwan's eyes never left the stage. Across the club, Ji-woo smiled into his drink. His older brother was watching the fire dancer exactly as planned. The trap was set. Now he just needed to spring it. Amina leaped. Her body arced backward, impossibly flexible, and the fire poi crossed above her in an X that made the crowd gasp. And then her eyes swept across the VIP section. Time stopped. Blue fire met black ice. For exactly 4 seconds, the world ceased to exist. Amina faltered. Her rhythm slipped. One poi dipped dangerously low. The crowd inhaled sharply, certain she would burn herself. But she recovered with a flourish that brought everyone to their feet in thunderous applause. Everyone except Ji-hwan. He sat frozen, hand pressed to his chest, feeling his heartbeat for the first time in 15 years. It felt like pain. It felt like waking. It felt like the ice inside him had just cracked. And he wanted more. Ji-hwan stood. His men exchanged shocked glances. The kingpin never approached performers. Never. He moved through the crowd like a blade through water. People scattered. Amina was surrounded by her troop when he reached her. They saw him coming and went pale. One of them grabbed her arm, whispering urgently. But Amina turned to face him head-on. Chin up. Fearless. Sweat glistened on her dark skin. Her chest rose and fell from exertion. And her eyes, those eyes that had locked with his across the flames, held no fear. You hesitated, Ji-hwan said. Second spin from the end of the third sequence. She raised an eyebrow. You counted every spin? I count everything. Then count this. She stepped closer, close enough that he could smell cinnamon and smoke on her skin. 0. That is how many times a man in a suit has intimidated me. One of her dancers hissed, that is him. The Kingpin. Amina, please. Kingpin. Amina tested the word like wine. King of what, exactly? Something twitched at the corner of Ji-hwan's mouth. Not a smile. He did not smile. But close. Everything that matters in Seoul. You look bored for someone who has everything. Her eyes swept over him, reading him like he had counted her spins. Empty. Like you have been standing still for so long you forgot how to move. No one had ever spoken to him like this. No one dared. Before he could decide whether to be angry or fascinated, his brother materialized at his elbow. Brother. Ji-woo's voice was too bright, too loud. Magnificent, is she not? Come, drinks. I insist. Amina's expression shifted when she looked at Ji-woo. Wariness replaced her confidence. Something in his smile made her want to step back. Ji-hwan saw it. Saw everything. And he stepped between them. One drink, he said, voice cutting through the noise. And then I personally ensure she reaches her hotel. Safely. The emphasis on the last word was for his brother. A warning. Ji-woo's smile flickered. Just for a second. Then returned, wider. Of course. Whatever you say. But as they walked toward the private lounge, Ji-hwan saw his brother nod to a server. Saw the server move toward Amina's bag near the dressing area. A whisper of unease moved through him. He would deal with it later. Right now, he wanted to understand why this woman made him feel like he was drowning and breathing for the first time simultaneously. The private lounge smelled of expensive whiskey and unspoken threats. Amina sat across from Ji-hwan, her troop flanking her like nervous bodyguards. She accepted the drink but did not sip it. The fire dancing, Ji-hwan said. Where did you learn? My grandmother. In Botswana. Her face softened. First real smile. She is dying. Heart failure. This tour pays for her surgery. There it was. The stakes. The reason behind the fearlessness. I am sorry, Ji-hwan found himself saying. Meaning it. Do not be sorry. She leaned forward. Just tell me something true. What do you love enough to burn for? The question hit him like a fist. 15 years and he had never once asked himself that. Nothing, he admitted quietly. That is the saddest thing I have ever heard. Ji-woo laughed from across the room. Philosophical and beautiful. Brother, you have met your match. Ji-hwan ignored him. Why are you not afraid? Of me. Of this world. I am afraid every time I dance with fire, Amina said. But I dance anyway. Fear only wins if you stop moving. 2 hours passed like minutes. She told him about red sands and endless skies. About dreams of a school for girls who had nothing. And he listened. Actually listened. Not planning. Not calculating. Just present. For the first time in 15 years, Co Ji-hwan was present. Ji-hwan walked her to the car himself. His men trailed behind, confusion etched on their faces. Thank you, Amina said at the car door. This was unexpected. What did you expect? Danger. Men who take what they want. She paused. You are dangerous. I can see that. But there is something else buried underneath. You see too much. Maybe you hide too little. Her hand almost touched his chest. Almost. Whatever you buried, Ji-hwan, it is still alive. I can feel it trying to break free. She got in the car. The door closed between them. Ji-hwan watched until the taillights disappeared into Seoul's neon-lit streets. Then he stood there. Just stood. Feeling the night air. The ache in his chest. The strange, terrifying sensation of being awake. Min-jae approached carefully. Sir? Is everything all right? No, Ji-hwan said honestly. I do not think it is. Because for 15 years, nothing had mattered. And now, after 2 hours with a fire dancer from Botswana, everything mattered. It terrified him. Across the city, Amina collapsed onto her hotel bed, still wearing her performance costume. Her troupe was already asleep in adjacent rooms, but she could not rest. She kept seeing his eyes. The way they looked empty until they suddenly were not. The way he had stepped between her and his brother without thinking. The way he listened like her words were precious. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. But something made her look. The first message was a photo. Her passport. The second was her grandmother's hospital in Gaborone. The third was her hotel room door. Taken from the hallway. Tonight. And then the words. You should have stayed away from him. Sleep well, fire dancer. Tomorrow, everything burns. Amina's hand started shaking. Someone had been watching her. Someone had been planning something. And somehow, it was connected to the man with the frozen eyes who had looked at her as if she held the key to his salvation. She wanted to call the police, but what would she say? A powerful crime lord invited me for drinks and now someone is threatening me? She would sound insane. And something told her that in Seoul, the police could not protect her from whatever darkness was circling. Amina did not sleep that night. She sat with her back against the headboard, watching the door, jumping at every sound in the hallway. By morning, her eyes were red and her nerves were shattered. She had just decided to pack her things and leave the country immediately when the door exploded inward. 3 men in black suits burst into her room. Amina screamed, grabbing the lamp from the bedside table and swinging it at the first man who reached for her. It connected with his jaw, sending him stumbling backward. But there were too many of them. They grabbed her arms, her legs, lifting her off the ground as she kicked and fought with everything she had. Let me go. I have done nothing. Let me go. Her troop members rushed into the hallway, awakened by the commotion. Her cousin Tabo tried to intervene, but a gun appeared in his face, freezing him in place. Touch her again and I will kill every one of you, a suited man said calmly. The fire dancer comes with us. The rest of you will leave Seoul today if you want to live. Amina was dragged down the service stairs, thrown into the back of a black SUV, and driven through the awakening streets of Seoul. She memorized every turn, every landmark, every detail that might help her escape. But when the vehicle finally stopped and the doors opened, escape was the last thing on her mind. She was in a warehouse. Industrial. Cold. The kind of place where people disappeared and were never found. They threw her to her knees on the concrete floor. Pain shot through her legs, but she refused to cry out. She would not give them the satisfaction. And then she saw it. On a pedestal in the center of the warehouse, illuminated by a single spotlight, sat the most beautiful object she had ever seen. A dragon carved from jade, ancient and priceless, its scales seeming to shimmer with inner light. The Biko dragon. She had heard whispers about it at the club. The sacred symbol of the clan's power, passed down through generations. An elderly man in traditional Korean clothing stepped forward. His face was weathered, his eyes cold with judgment. This artifact was found in your hotel room this morning, he said. Hidden in your bag. The same bag you carried to our club last night. Amina's heart stopped. What? No. That is impossible. I have never seen that thing before in my life. The evidence says otherwise. Someone put it there. Someone is framing me. The old man's expression did not change. You were the only outsider with access. The only stranger in our midst. The punishment for stealing from the Biko clan is death. The word hit Amina like a physical blow. Death. They were going to kill her for something she did not do. She was going to die in a cold warehouse in a foreign country, and her grandmother would never know what happened to her. Please, she said, hating the tremor in her voice. I am telling you the truth. I am a dancer. I came here to perform and earn money for my grandmother's surgery. I do not want your artifact. I do not want anything except to go home. The door opened behind her. Footsteps echoed on the concrete. Slow. Deliberate. Powerful. She knew who it was before she turned around. She could feel him. That cold presence that had somehow made her feel warm. Seo Jihuan walked past her without a glance, his face carved from the same stone as always. He examined the jade dragon, running his fingers along its surface. You did this, Amina said to his back. Betrayal burned in her chest. You set me up. The drinks. The conversation. It was all a trap. Jihuan turned slowly. Their eyes met, and Amina searched for some hint of the man who had walked her to her car, who had listened to her stories, who had pressed his hand to his chest as if feeling his own heartbeat for the first time. She saw nothing. Only ice. I am asking the questions here, he said quietly. The elderly man stepped forward. We do not need questions. We need her head. The law is clear, Jihuan. She stole from us. She dies. Amina watched Jihuan's face. For a fraction of a second, something flickered in his eyes. Doubt? Concern? Or was she imagining what she wanted to see? I will handle her personally, Jihuan said. The elder frowned. This is not a matter for personal handling. The council demands. The council will have their answer in 7 days. Jihuan's voice was iron. If she stole the dragon, I want to know who she is working with. If she did not steal it, I want to know who framed us both. 7 days. Amina felt a tiny spark of hope ignite in her chest. 7 days to prove her innocence. 7 days to find out who was really behind this. 7 days to survive. The elder did not look pleased, but he nodded slowly. 7 days. Not a moment more. And if you cannot find the truth, her blood is on your hands. Jihuan's expression did not change. It always is. He gestured to his men. Take her to the estate. The East Wing. She does not leave that room. As they lifted Amina to her feet, she locked eyes with Jihuan one final time. I did not do this, she said. Whatever you think of me, whatever lies you have been told, I did not steal from you. Jihuan stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned away without responding. But Amina saw something that gave her hope. As Jihuan turned, his eyes swept across the warehouse, landing briefly on his brother Jiwu, who stood in the shadows near the back entrance. Jiwu was smiling. A small, satisfied smile that did not match the gravity of the situation. And Jihuan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly when he saw it. He suspects something, Amina thought. He knows this is wrong. Now she just had to survive long enough for him to prove it. The east wing of Jihuan's estate was more luxurious than any hotel Amina had ever seen. The room they locked her in had silk sheets, a marble bathroom, and windows that looked out over a garden filled with cherry blossom trees. It was beautiful. It was also a prison. Amina spent the first hours testing every possible escape route. The windows were reinforced glass that would not break no matter how hard she struck them. The door was solid steel disguised as wood. There were no vents large enough to crawl through, no hidden passages, no weaknesses of any kind. She was trapped. And the clock was ticking. On the first night, she refused the food they brought her. On the second night, her hunger won out and she ate, hating herself for the weakness. On the third night, she tried to escape anyway, picking the lock with a hairpin she had hidden in her braids. She made it exactly 17 steps down the hallway before a hand closed around her arm and spun her around. Ji-won stood there in the darkness, his grip firm but not painful. He was dressed casually, black shirt and pants, his feet bare on the marble floor. He looked less like a crime lord and more like a man who could not sleep. "Where exactly did you plan to go?" he asked quietly. "Away from here. Away from you. My men are stationed at every exit. You would not have made it to the gate. Then why did you stop me yourself?" The question hung between them. Ji-won's grip on her arm loosened slightly, but he did not let go. "Because I wanted to," he said finally. "Because I am the one who needs to understand." "Understand what?" "Whether you are a very good liar or a very unlucky woman." Amina stepped closer to him, close enough to see the faint shadows under his eyes, the tension in his jaw. "Look at me," she said. "Really look at me. You said you count everything. So count this. Count the truth in my eyes. Count the fact that I have never lied to you. Count the reality that someone in your organization set me up, and you know it." Ji-won's eyes searched hers. Seconds passed. His breathing was slightly uneven, and Amina realized with a shock that she was affecting him. The ice was cracking. "Why should I believe you?" he asked, but his voice had lost its edge. "Because you felt something when we met. I saw it. That moment when our eyes locked across the fire. Something woke up in you." Amina's voice dropped to a whisper. "And something woke up in me too. I do not know what this is between us, but it is real. And real things do not begin with lies." Ji-won released her arm as if it had burned him. He took a step backward, his walls slamming back into place. "Return to your room. Do not attempt to escape again." "Or what? You will kill me?" "You are already planning to do that in 4 days. 3 days, he corrected quietly. "The council meets in 3 days now." The correction hit her like ice water. 3 days. She had wasted precious time. "Then let me help," Amina said desperately. "Let me prove my innocence. I will do whatever it takes." Ji-won was silent for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised her. "Tomorrow morning, we will talk. Really talk. I will tell you what my investigator has found, and you will tell me everything about that night. Every person who came near you. Every moment you cannot account for." The next morning, Min-jae dropped a folder on Ji-won's desk. Inside were security logs, phone records, and one photograph that changed everything. "The footage from the club was erased," Min-jae said. "Only 15 minutes. The exact window when someone could have planted the dragon in her bag." Ji-won's jaw tightened. "Someone with access to our security systems. Someone inside the clan." They were both thinking the same name. Ji-woo. Ji-won went to Amina's room that evening. He told her everything. The erased footage. The insider conspiracy. His growing suspicion about his own brother. "So what happens now?" Amina asked. "We force his hand. Make him expose himself before the council." "How?" "By giving him what he wants. An opportunity to finish what he started." 3 days later, they sprung the trap. Ji-won announced he was moving the Biko dragon to a new location. Minimal guards. Maximum opportunity. Ji-woo took the bait. He arrived at the warehouse with 20 mercenaries. Not clan members. Outsiders. The very presence of them was grounds for expulsion. "Brother," Ji-woo called out. "Did you really think I would not find out?" "I was counting on it." Ji-woo's smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "Hidden cameras are recording everything. The elders will see you using outsiders against your own kingpin." For a moment, uncertainty flickered across Ji-woo's face. Then it hardened. "Kill them both," he ordered. "Destroy the cameras." The fight was brutal but brief. Ji-won and Amina moved together, covering each other, fighting like they had trained for years instead of days. When Ji-woo grabbed Amina with a knife to her throat, she went limp, twisted free, and drove her elbow into his ribs. The elders emerged from shadows. They had seen everything. "Co Ji-woo, Elder Choi pronounced. You have brought outsiders against your own clan. You have attempted to murder your kingpin. Ji-woo's face went white. They were going to destroy us. Ji-hwan is weak. But the evidence was undeniable. Amina expected expulsion. Expected justice. Expected it to be over. Instead, Elder Choi turned to Ji-hwan with cold eyes. Your brother's treachery is clear. But the council requires more than camera footage to expel blood. We need witnesses. Confessions. Proof beyond doubt. Amina's stomach dropped. You saw him try to kill us. We saw a confrontation that your kingpin orchestrated. Ji-woo could argue entrapment. Self-defense. Elder Choi's gaze was merciless. Until we have irrefutable proof, Ji-woo remains a member of this clan. Stripped of position, but not expelled. Not yet. Ji-woo's smile returned. Smaller now. But triumphant. Thank you, Elder. I look forward to clearing my name. They let him walk away. Amina watched in disbelief as the man who had framed her, who had tried to kill her, strolled out of the warehouse like he had won. This is insane, she breathed. He is guilty. Ji-hwan's hand found hers. Squeezed. This is not over, he said quietly. He made a mistake tonight. He showed his hand. Now we know exactly what he is capable of. And what do we do with that knowledge? Ji-hwan turned to face her. In his eyes, she saw something new. Not ice. Not emptiness. Fire. We wait. We watch. And when he makes his next move, we destroy him completely. Amina should have left. She was free now. Cleared of charges. She could fly home to her grandmother, forget Seoul, forget the kingpin with the frozen heart who was slowly learning to burn. Instead, she made a choice that would change everything. I am not running from your brother, she said. And I am not running from you. Ji-hwan stared at her. You should go. It is safer. Safe is not the same as alive. You taught me that. She stepped closer, took his face in her hands. I came to Seoul to dance with fire. I did not expect to find a man made of ice who needed melting. But here we are. Here we are, he repeated softly. So what happens now? Ji-hwan's hands came up to cover hers, pressing them against his cheeks. Now, he said, we find out if fire and ice can survive together. Or if we burn each other to ash. He kissed her then. Soft. Questioning. Full of promise and fear. When they broke apart, Amina smiled. I am willing to risk the burn if you are. I am, Ji-hwan whispered. God help me, I am. But neither of them knew that Ji-woo was already planning his next attack. And this time, he would not aim at Amina's freedom. He would aim at her heart. The first test came 3 weeks later. Amina had settled into a strange new life. She stayed at Ji-hwan's estate, not as a prisoner but as something neither of them had named yet. They shared meals. They talked for hours. He watched her practice fire dancing in the garden, and she watched the ice behind his eyes melt a little more each day. But outside their private world, whispers were spreading. The kingpin and the African. The crime lord and the fire dancer. The man who had never kept a woman longer than one night was suddenly inseparable from a foreigner who had been accused of theft just weeks ago. The clan did not approve. There is a gathering tonight, Ji-hwan said one morning over breakfast. The annual meeting of the elder families. I want you to come with me. Amina looked up from her tea. You want to parade me in front of people who think I am a thief? I want to show them who you really are. He reached across the table and took her hand. I want them to see what I see. Amina's heart swelled. This was Ji-hwan trying. This was the frozen man learning to feel, learning to share, learning to be proud of something other than power. She should have known it would not be that simple. The gathering was held in a mansion that made Ji-hwan's estate look modest. Crystal chandeliers. Silk wallpaper. Women in traditional hanbok worth more than Amina's entire village earned in a year. Every eye turned to her when they entered. Ji-hwan walked with his hand on the small of her back, guiding her through the crowd. He introduced her to elders, to business partners, to men and women who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. Amina held her head high. She had faced fire. She could face this. And then Elder Choi's wife approached. Madame Choi was a beautiful woman in her 60s, elegant and cold as marble. She looked at Amina the way one might look at a stain on an expensive carpet. "So," she said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "This is the African who has bewitched our kingpin." The conversations around them stopped. Amina felt dozens of eyes boring into her. "My name is Amina Ketsi," she said calmly. "I am a fire dancer from Botswana. I have bewitched no one." Madame Choi smiled. It did not reach her eyes. A fire dancer. How exotic. "Tell me, is that what you call it in your country?" "In Korea, we have another word for women who entrance powerful men for money." Amina's blood turned to ice. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." Madame Choi stepped closer, her voice dripping with contempt. "We know what you are. A fortune hunter. A distraction. A foreign nobody who saw an opportunity and spread her legs for it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Amina's hands trembled at her sides. She turned to Ji-hwan, expecting him to say something. To defend her. To put this woman in her place. He stood frozen. His jaw was tight. His eyes were conflicted. She could see him calculating, weighing, measuring the cost of speaking against the cost of silence. The seconds stretched into eternity. And Ji-hwan said nothing. Madame Choi's smile widened. "It seems even the kingpin knows what you are. He is simply too polite to say it." Amina felt something crack inside her chest. Not her heart. Her faith. She had survived being framed. She had survived being kidnapped. She had survived a knife at her throat. But this silence from the man who claimed to care for her was worse than all of it. "Excuse me," she said quietly. She walked out of the gathering with her head held high, refusing to let them see her break. She made it to the garden before the tears came. Ji-hwan found her 20 minutes later. "Amina. Do not." She held up her hand, stopping him in his tracks. "Do not come near me right now. Let me explain." "Explain what?" She turned to face him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Explain why you stood there like a statue while that woman called me a whore in front of everyone you know? It is complicated. The elders have influence. If I had confronted Madame Choi publicly, it would have created a rift that..." "A rift?" Amina laughed bitterly. "You were worried about politics while I was being humiliated. While everything I am was being reduced to a stereotype. While the man I thought cared about me proved that his throne matters more than my dignity." Ji-hwan's face contorted with pain. "That is not fair." "Not fair?" She stepped toward him, fury replacing tears. "I gave up my flight home for you. I chose to stay in this dangerous world for you. I let myself fall for a man everyone warned me was made of ice. And tonight I found out they were right. Amina, please. You had a chance to choose me, Ji-hwan. In front of everyone who matters to you, you had a chance to show them that I am more than a foreign curiosity. And you chose your throne." She pushed past him, heading toward the house. "Where are you going?" "To pack. And then to the airport. I am done being your secret. I am done being something you are ashamed of." Ji-hwan grabbed her arm. "I am not ashamed of you. Then why did you not defend me?" She yanked free, her voice breaking. "Why did you let her say those things? Why did you just stand there?" He had no answer. For the first time since she had known him, the kingpin of Seoul was completely, utterly speechless. Amina shook her head sadly. "I thought you were different. I thought the ice was melting. But you are still the same man who cannot feel. You just learned how to fake it better." She walked away. This time, he did not follow. Amina booked a flight for the next morning. She packed her bags in the guest room, refusing to look at the garden where she had danced, refusing to think about the conversations they had shared, the almost kisses, the moments when she had truly believed he was changing. At midnight, there was a knock on her door. "Go away, Ji-hwan." "It is not Ji-hwan." She opened the door to find Min-jae standing there, looking uncomfortable. "What do you want?" "He is outside. In the rain. He has been standing at your window for 2 hours." Amina's heart clenched. "That is his choice. He told me to give you this." Min-jae held out an envelope. "He said if you still want to leave after reading it, he will personally drive you to the airport and never contact you again." Amina stared at the envelope. Every instinct told her to refuse it. To protect herself. To run. But her hands moved before her mind could stop them. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Ji-hwan's handwriting. "I have spent 15 years learning to feel nothing. Tonight, I felt everything. Terror. Shame. The desperate need to protect you warring with the cowardice my father beat into me. I failed you. I know that. I cannot take back my silence. But I can tell you what I should have said. You are not a distraction. You are the first real thing I have touched in 15 years. You are not a fortune hunter. You are the woman who made me remember that fortunes mean nothing without someone to share them with. You are not a foreign nobody. You are Amina Kgetsi, fire dancer, survivor, the bravest person I have ever known. I should have said all of this in front of everyone. I should have burned my world down to defend you. I did not because I was afraid. Not of them. Of myself. Of feeling this much. Of losing control. But I am more afraid of losing you. The car is waiting. If you want to leave, I understand. But if you stay, I swear on my mother's grave that I will never be silent again. I will choose you, Amina. In front of everyone. Every time. No matter the cost. I love you. I should have told you before now. I love you, and I am terrified, and I am sorry. Please stay." Amina read the letter 3 times. Her tears fell on the paper, smudging his words. She went to the window. He was there. Standing in the pouring rain, looking up at her room. Soaked. Shivering. But he did not move. Did not seek shelter. Just waited. She opened the window. "You are going to get sick," she called down. "I do not care. You look pathetic. I feel pathetic." Good. Silence. Rain. Then. "Does that mean you are staying?" Amina looked at the letter in her hands. At the man in the rain. At the choice before her. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "Fire does not burn those who are meant to carry it. Come inside, Ji-hwan." Is that a yes? It is a, "Come inside before you catch pneumonia, you dramatic fool." She saw him smile. Even from this distance, she saw it. Real. Unguarded. Full of relief and love and the kind of hope that terrified men like him. 10 minutes later, he stood in her doorway, dripping wet, shivering. "I am sorry," he said. "I am so sorry. I know. I will do better. I swear. I know that too." She pulled him inside, wrapped a towel around his shoulders, and made him sit by the heater. He looked small suddenly. Vulnerable. Nothing like the kingpin everyone feared. "Why did you stay?" he asked quietly. "After everything I did. Why did you not leave?" Amina knelt before him, taking his cold hands in hers. "Because I saw you standing in the rain. Because you wrote words I know were harder than any fight you have ever been in. Because beneath all that ice, there is a man worth believing in." She touched his face. "And because I love you too, you impossible, infuriating, emotionally stunted fool." He laughed. It was watery and broken, but it was real. "I do not deserve you. Probably not. But you have me anyway." She kissed his forehead. "Now stop saying sorry and start showing me. Every day. For as long as we have. I will, he promised. I will. But before he could prove it, Amina's phone rang. She glanced at the screen. A Botswana number. Her aunt. Hello? The words that followed shattered everything. Amina. It is your grandmother. She collapsed this morning. The doctors say it is her heart. You need to come home. Now. The phone slipped from Amina's fingers. Jihuan caught it. Caught her. Held her as she broke. I will book the jet, he said immediately. We will leave within the hour. I will fly in the best specialists. I will. No. He stopped. What? Amina pulled back, tears streaming down her face. This is my family. My world. You cannot fix it with money and jets and specialists. Her voice cracked. I need to go home, Jihuan. Alone. Amina. Please. She gripped his hands. I love you. But I need to do this myself. I need to be her granddaughter right now. Not the kingpin's woman. Jihuan's face crumbled. She could see him fighting every instinct, every urge to control, to protect, to fix. Finally, he nodded. Okay, he whispered. Okay. But I am here. Whatever you need. Whenever you need it. I am here. She kissed him one last time. Soft. Desperate. Full of everything she could not say. Then she packed her bags and left for Botswana. She did not know that Jihuan would follow her within 48 hours. And she did not know that his arrival would force them both to face a test neither of them was prepared for. The village was nothing like Seoul. Red dust roads stretched between modest homes made of concrete and corrugated iron. Children played barefoot in the streets. Women carried water on their heads, their laughter echoing across the flat, endless landscape. Amina had forgotten how much she missed it. She arrived at her grandmother's house just as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold that no Korean sunset could match. Her aunt met her at the door, eyes red from crying. She is stable now. But weak. The doctors say her heart is failing. Amina found her grandmother in the small bedroom where she had slept as a child. The old woman looked fragile against the white sheets, her dark skin ashen, her breathing shallow. Grandmother. The old woman's eyes fluttered open. A weak smile crossed her face. My fire dancer. You came. Of course I came. Amina knelt beside the bed, taking her grandmother's thin hand. I will always come. You were in Korea. Chasing your dreams. Her grandmother's voice was barely above a whisper. Did you find them? Amina thought about Jihuan. About fire and ice. About love that terrified her. I found something, she admitted. I am not sure what to call it yet. Her grandmother studied her face with knowing eyes. A man. I can see it. You have that look your mother had when she met your father. Amina's throat tightened. It is complicated. Love always is, child. Her grandmother squeezed her hand weakly. Tell me about him. So Amina did. She told her grandmother everything. The performance. The kidnapping. The brother's betrayal. The cultural humiliation. The letter in the rain. When she finished, her grandmother was quiet for a long moment. He sounds like a man at war with himself. He is. He has been frozen for so long. But he is trying to change. Trying is not the same as changing. Her grandmother's eyes sharpened despite her weakness. Bring him here. Amina blinked. What? If this man wants my granddaughter, I need to see him. Not in his world where he is powerful. In mine, where he is nothing. Grandmother, he is the kingpin of Seoul. He cannot just. Then he is not worthy of you. Her grandmother's voice was firm. Any man can love a woman when he holds all the power. But a real man loves her when he has none. Bring him here, Amina. Let me see what he is made of. Amina wanted to argue. But she knew that look in her grandmother's eyes. There was no point fighting it. She did not have to call Jihuan. He arrived 2 days later. Amina was hanging laundry in the yard when a black car appeared on the dusty road. It looked absurdly out of place among the donkey carts and rusted bicycles. Neighbors stopped to stare as it pulled up to her grandmother's house. Jihuan stepped out. He wore simple clothes. Black shirt, dark pants. No suit. No entourage. Just one small bag over his shoulder and an expression of complete uncertainty. Amina dropped the sheet she was holding. "What are you doing here?" I could not stay away. He walked toward her slowly, as if approaching a wild animal. "I know you said you needed to do this alone. But I realized something after you left." "What?" "That alone is what I have been for 15 years. And I am done with it." He stopped in front of her, his eyes searching hers. "I do not want to fix things with money and jets. I want to be here. With you. Even if I do not know how." Amina's heart cracked open. "Jihuan. I know I am out of my element. I know I do not belong here. But you did not belong in my world either, and you stayed. You fought. You made yourself belong." He took her hands. "Let me try to do the same." Before Amina could respond, a voice came from the doorway. "So. This is the man who thinks he deserves my granddaughter." Jihuan turned. Her grandmother stood there, supported by Amina's aunt, wrapped in a colorful blanket despite the heat. She looked fragile but fierce. "Yes, ma'am," Jihuan said. He bowed deeply, a Korean gesture of respect. "I am Co Jihuan. I know who you are. I researched you." Her grandmother's eyes were piercing. The Seoul Kingpin. The man who kills without feeling. The son who was raised to see love as weakness. Jihuan's face tightened, but he did not look away. "That is who I was. And who are you now?" "I am trying to find out." Her grandmother studied him for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then she turned and walked back inside. "Come. We will talk." The conversation lasted 3 hours. Her grandmother asked Jihuan questions that made him flinch. About his father. About the mentor he killed. About the women he had discarded. About the emptiness he had cultivated like a garden. Jihuan answered everything. Honestly. Painfully. Amina watched him strip away every defense, every wall, every piece of armor he had built over 15 years. By the end, he was raw. Exposed. More vulnerable than she had ever seen him. Her grandmother leaned back in her chair, exhaustion evident on her face. "You love my granddaughter." "Yes. But do you respect her? Or do you just want to own her?" The question hung in the air. Amina held her breath. Jihuan was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "I do not know how to answer that. I have never respected anyone the way I respect her. But I also know that my instinct is to protect, to control, to possess. It is what I was taught. It is what I know." He looked at Amina, then back at her grandmother. "I am trying to unlearn it. Every day. I am trying to be someone worthy of her. Trying is not enough. Then tell me what is. Tell me what I need to do." Her grandmother smiled. It was the first time Amina had seen her smile since arriving. "Stay here. For 1 week. No money. No power. No guards. Just you, living as we live, working as we work." She leaned forward. "Prove that you can be a man without your empire. Prove that you can love my granddaughter when you have nothing to offer but yourself." Jihuan did not hesitate. "I will do it. You do not know what you are agreeing to. I do not care. Whatever it takes." Her grandmother nodded slowly. "Then we begin tomorrow. Tonight, you sleep in the shed." Amina almost laughed at Jihuan's expression. The kingpin of Seoul, sleeping in a shed in rural Botswana. But he simply bowed again. Thank you for the opportunity. The week that followed broke Ji-hwan completely. On the first day, he helped carry water from the well. His soft hands blistered within hours. On the second day, he tried to cook over an open fire and burned everything. The children laughed at him. He laughed with them. On the third day, he collapsed from heat exhaustion. Amina found him lying in the shade of a tree, covered in dust and sweat. You can stop, she said, kneeling beside him. You have nothing to prove. Yes, I do. He sat up slowly, wincing. I have spent my entire life proving myself through power. Through fear. Through control. For once, I want to prove myself through something else. Through what? Through love. He touched her face gently. Through being the man you deserve, not the monster my father created. By the fourth day, something shifted. Ji-hwan stopped trying to be useful and started just being present. He sat with the elders and listened to their stories. He played with the children without caring about dignity. He held Amina's grandmother's hand while she told him about her late husband, about Amina's parents, about the fire dancing tradition that had been passed down for generations. He did not try to fix anything. He just existed. Openly. Vulnerably. Human. On the sixth night, Amina found him sitting alone under the stars. What are you thinking? She asked, settling beside him. That I have wasted so much time. His voice was quiet. I spent 15 years building an empire that means nothing. I accumulated power and money and fear, and none of it made me feel alive. But sitting here in the dust, with blistered hands and sunburned skin, watching you laugh with your family. He turned to look at her. This is the most alive I have ever felt. So what does that mean? It means I do not want to go back to who I was. It means I want to build something new. Something real. He took her hand. With you. Amina leaned her head on his shoulder. My grandmother likes you. She terrifies me. Good. That means you are paying attention. They sat in comfortable silence, watching stars that seemed closer here than anywhere else on Earth. Then Ji-hwan's phone rang. He had turned it off for the week. But Amina's aunt had insisted he keep it charged for emergencies. This was an emergency. Sir. Min-jae's voice was tense. Ji-woo has made his move. He convinced the elders that you abandoned the clan for a foreign woman. They held a vote this morning. Ji-hwan went still. And? Ji-woo is acting kingpin. If you do not return within 48 hours, it becomes permanent. He is already consolidating power. He has frozen your accounts, seized your properties, turned your allies against you. The words hit like physical blows. Amina watched Ji-hwan's face cycle through shock, rage, and something that looked like grief. I understand, he said finally. I will. No. Amina took the phone from him. Min-jae, this is Amina. I need you to tell me everything about Ji-woo. Every weakness. Every secret. Every skeleton in his closet. Miss Amina, I do not think. Ji-hwan is completing something important here. He cannot leave. So I need to know what we are dealing with. Can you help me or not? Silence. Then, I can help. But it will not be pleasant. I do not need pleasant. I need ammunition. She hung up and turned to find Ji-hwan staring at her. What are you doing? Fighting for you. She cupped his face. You gave up everything to be here. You chose me over your empire. Now it is my turn to choose you. Amina, this is my battle. No. It is our battle. That is what partners do. She kissed him softly. Finish your week. Pass my grandmother's test. And trust me to handle this. Ji-hwan looked torn. Every instinct was screaming at him to take control, to fix it himself, to be the kingpin. But he had spent a week learning to let go. Okay, he whispered. I trust you. On the seventh day, Amina's grandmother called them both to her bedside. She looked stronger now. The rest and the happiness of having her granddaughter home had restored some of her vitality. You passed, she said to Ji-hwan. Not because you carried water or survived the heat, but because you stopped trying to prove yourself and simply lived. That is what my granddaughter needs. A partner, not a protector. An equal, not a savior. Ji-hwan bowed his head. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. Her grandmother's eyes sharpened. I know what awaits you in Seoul. I know your brother has taken everything. I know you will return with nothing but the clothes on your back. Yes. Good. She smiled. Because now you will discover what you are truly made of. And so will she. She looked at Amina. I tested him. But I was also testing you. Amina frowned. What do you mean? You gathered information while he was here. You planned. You prepared to fight beside him, not behind him. Her grandmother reached out and took both their hands. That is how I know this is real. You are not a damsel, Amina. And he is not a savior. You are partners. Equals. That is the only kind of love worth having. Amina felt tears streaming down her face. I love you, grandmother. I love you too, fire dancer. Now go. Save his empire. Build your life. And bring me great-grandchildren before I die. They flew back to Seoul that night. Min Jae met them at the airport with grim news. Ji-woo had moved faster than expected. He controlled the clan, the money, the men. Ji-hwan was effectively exiled from his own kingdom. What do we have? Ji-hwan asked as they drove through the city that no longer belonged to him. 6 loyal men. A safe house. And the information Miss Amina requested. Min Jae handed her a folder. It is worse than we thought. Amina opened the folder. Her face went pale. Ji-hwan. Your father. He did not die of natural causes. Ji-hwan went still. What are you talking about? Ji-woo poisoned him. Slowly. Over months. To accelerate his path to power. She showed him the evidence. Medical records. Toxicology reports. Testimony from a servant who had been paid to stay silent. Your brother killed your father. The car was silent. Ji-hwan's hands trembled. His breathing became ragged. I knew, he whispered. Part of me always knew. I saw how eager Ji-woo was during the illness. How he smiled at the funeral. But I could not face it. I could not accept that my own blood. He broke off, unable to continue. Amina took his